Well, there's only really one place to start this week, Pezza, and that's Stuart Broad talking about what happened to Bairstow at Lord's. Shall we?
Yeah.
So I was watching on the telly, sat in my spot, and I heard this appeal. So, what's that? Looked at the telly, saw it. I thought, I stood up. So I was like, oh God, if there's an appeal, I might be in here. Start like stretching or whatever. Saw it on the TV. Nah, no way is that out. Sat back down.
Sit down.
And then I heard a huge boo. I was like, what's happened there? And I think Baz went, I've been given out. I was like, you're joking? So I was like, am I in? Yeah.
Is that how it works?
Next in. If you're out.
Helmet, so I'm scrambling around a bit, like, right, get it. And what set me off was I walked through the long room, which is normally like, good luck, have a great day.
Come on,
and one of the members was looking out the window and just turned around to me and goes, absolute disgrace. And I would say mindset's a strength of mine. I've learned to be very controlled of what I'm doing. But that word just turned me into, I just had red mist for 10 minutes.
One bloke.
So I walked past Johnny, and normally when the out batter, you'd go, what do you think? Is it swinging, mate? How you feeling?
How you feeling?
He was just snorting, like staring at the floor like a raging bull, didn't even look at me. And that revved me up as well. So I was like, okay, well, so he's obviously annoyed. So as I'm walking out to Lords and there's boos going at the Aussies, the captain, Pat Cummins, is coming on to bowl. So he's walking towards me to the end of his mark.
Okay.
And I just looked at him and I said, you're an absolute disgrace.
Like the old bloke.
And the response was?
He said, oh yeah, you're hardly a upkeep of the spirit of cricket.
Did he?
One nil
Reference in 2013.
One nil Broad for me.
2013,
So that upset me.
It didn't work.
Right. So then the next 10 minutes became of me being very facetious and shouting in every time. Which I had huge regrets about that night. I was hugely embarrassed about it. But I had no real control over what I was doing. I was just,
no control.
There was a moment where Silly Point and Short Leg are in with their helmets on, and the crowd are singing, same old Aussies, always cheating. And I stood there, I was looking at both of them, they're a yard away, and I'm looking at both of them in the eyes, just singing, same old Aussies,
singing at them.
always cheating.
Singing,
And I could sit there looking at me and just say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But the more it went
As you
on,
would.
they just went vacant. They weren't thinking about what they were doing. They were bowling
place.
like slot to Stokesy.
Slot.
He's done him.
Stokesy came to me and said, I'm going to do my thing. I'm not going to talk. If I run, you run. If I run two, you run two.
Cricket.
But you keep doing your thing.
Do you see?
And
Level above
so
stuff.
Pat went over to long on, like way away from me. And the crowd are booing him when they walk out. And I'm shouting from, 60 metres. Pat, all these boos, they're for you, mate. All of them, they're for you.
Strong, mentally
strong. To the extent where I think some of them were going, just like, calm down a little bit.
Tell them to calm down.
Started off as a red mist, and then I tweaked it into an advantage of we've got on by the balls there a little bit. How long can I make this carry on? It made the series, to be honest. We galvanised round it. I think he didn't do it again in the series. No. So he realised
concentrated his mind.
Maybe I was a bit dozy at the time, just wandering out.
Hey, thanks to TalkSport for that, by the way, or whatever that show was.
Australia won that game. Just sort of tweaked it in the end. Where do you want to start with that one?
Here's where I'd like to start, in all seriousness.
By the book? By the book?
Of course, by the book.
Yeah. Get it.
First thing I want to say is, latest instalment in the phony wars between Australia and England that's been going on for 150 years.
I like it. Yep.
And to its credit, I'm grateful for it. What Stuart Broad brings to the Ashes, Australia-England discussions, I find that quite familiar in a very, very changing cricket world. I would pick this kind of garbage from both sides.
Yes.
10 out of 10 times over a David Warner pushpa dance, which is the new way of interacting, right?
Yes.
So, fair play. I think he's still serving a great purpose
Better
for us.
the devil you know, etc.
Yeah. I guess for me, Broad, there's lots to pick up on, I suppose. And he's just chatting, and he's got a book coming out, and that's how these things work, right?
Right.
But he mentions being embarrassed that night, 10 minutes. It's I was really embarrassed about it that evening, about the conduct.
Yes.
Like, I don't really get the I'm embarrassed vibe from his monologue there. Like, I get the, like, I'm receiving a psychology masterclass from Brody, like the American online education subscription platform.
Yes. Scorsese.
But, you know, like how to get under the Aussie skin and get your team to galvanise, you know, around some psychological warfare.
Yes.
Very niche class.
It's quite niche, I'm signing up.
And my favourite part is probably the bit where Simon Jordan, the interviewer, is like solemnly and intellectually stroking his chin while murmuring / humming same old Aussies always cheating, just out of sync with Broad.
Yeah.
Who'd been singing at the other.
He knows the chant.
Same old.
Of course, always cheating.
So, but I want to just bookend by saying I'm grateful for this rhetoric. Over a lot of the other shit going on. And that we're going to get in the future. We're going to miss this.
That's true. Also, he's good, isn't he? And he knows what he's doing.
Exactly. And if you're responding, you're rattled.
My takeaway from it, generally speaking, of course, in the wonderful elements of all of this, is that the Australian cricket team in that moment have actually encapsulated the entire nation's feelings around literally every single one of the moments of the Ashes over the course of whatever 20-something days it happened, where they were like, what are you doing? That was... that's the origin of crow's feet. Like the entire country of Australia, who of course have been the bad guys for decades. We were the bad guys. And now, like, of course, it is England's right to continue to paint Australia as the bad guys because, of course, we are just convicts and we are sitting over there as the chant goes. But really, Australia was just looking at this happening being like, calm down, mate. What are you doing?
I don't know. It's a sociological exercise. Maybe from England's perspective, it's like that spinny wheel thing online. You know, like which colour's the t-shirt? You know, or whatever the fuck, or the dress,
the end of
orange
Inception?
or blue, whatever. You know, it's like everyone's just saying something different. But I'm not sure it's sounding how he thinks it's sounding. Like when the Aussies are like, "What are you doing?" And Cummins is like, "Why are you talking about the spirit of cricket?" Like,
calm down, mate.
Calm down.
I
don't know, but that's I don't know. They'll write about this sociologically for years. There's a lot of English people probably listening to it, going like, "Go on, Broady."
Well,
get in, Broady.
Judging by the reaction online, I'm actually not really sure that was the case. I did kind of get quiet. Pretty quiet. Although, of course, the current white ball setup not going that great over there in India. Let's get into the show itself. Support for this show comes from our dear patrons at patreon.com/Grey Cricket. There's over 3,500 people that have joined our little community there on the interwebs and are really keeping the lights on at the moment for this operation. They are supporting the show. And at the moment, you get all of our dailies, the audio for the dailies, which you can access now on Spotify. Spotify and Patreon have linked up now, so you can get all the reviews for the England, Australia, Pakistan and India matches remaining in this World Cup. A lot has happened. So all of those teams, as we'll discuss later in the show, you also get #AskTGC Fridays. Given that the accessibility now of Spotify, you can easily find our Hall of Fame episodes, which we released about a year ago. #AskTGC Fridays every single Friday, of course. And we've got a really big announcement about our summer coming out tomorrow on Patreon. You can guarantee your spot if you like to be part of
what we may or may not be announcing.
Right, our summer programming or just general broadcasting per se in different mediums. And
if you like TGC in real life.
We can't say too much. It's very secretive.
But being on Patreon assists.
It does. Yeah, being sort of the first to access certain things and,
early.
Anyway, that's coming out tomorrow. So if you're listening to this, it's going to be Wednesday. Making that announcement, you get first access there to everything, plus all the audio. That comes out before it goes onto YouTube, obviously. And then obviously #AskTGC Friday. So much happening here. Pezza, do you want to talk about the Archie Gray charity game?
We're pumping up. We mentioned this last week. We're pumping up the Archie Gray Brain Cancer Awareness Celebrity Charity cricket match. If this is the first time you're hearing about this, so sadly last year Archie Gray is playing second grade for Western Suburbs. You know, this is a competition that we played in around about the same ages. I suspect Archie was far better cricketer than us, but he lost a courageous battle with brain cancer. So moving and so deeply sad. at 17 years of age. The people around Archie, his club, and also Manly Cricket Club are putting on a celebrity charity cricket match to raise funds for the Mark Hughes Foundation, which helps investigate, explore, do research into brain cancer, particularly in children. Brain cancer is the leading cause of cancer death in children and adults aged under 40 in Australia, and little is known about it. Higgins and I were so desperate to get to this game to play in it. We can't make it, but we have committed to pumping it up massively. What we're asking people to do is to consider going to the game itself, 15th of November, 5:30 to 9:30 at Pratton Park. It's Wests v Manly. Now, I'm going to announce some names of players who'll be there. It's a celebrity match.
Yeah, nice.
So Nathan Lyon's playing in this game.
Awesome.
A lot of people are getting around this. Nathan Lyon's playing in this game. Brett Lee's playing in the game. Ned Brockman, here, remember, ran across Australia or some shit.
Nice. Or some shit, or exactly that.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
King. Dan Christian's playing in this game. Christo. Michael Hooper's playing in this game. Steve Beaver Menzies for the Rugby League inclined. If you're also on that page, Danny Badiris and Mark Hughes are involved. And that's just the start. There may be some more. Tom and Eddie from Hello Sport are heading down there as well.
Awesome.
Mates of the show. There is so please fund it, donate to it, or go to the game. There is a sponsorship prospectus if you really want to get behind it. Email us, hello@gradecricketer.com if you want that sponsorship prospectus. I will send it to you personally. This is something that's very close to my heart, and we're going to get behind it all the way through to the game. So support that Archie Gray Brain Cancer Awareness Celebrity Charity Cricket Match.
Okay, let's start today's show by talking about the World Cup, and we'll start with Australia, I suppose. Pezza, we were very fortunate to speak to the leading wicket taker in the competition. His name is Adam Zampa. Last Friday, you can access that either on YouTube or it is on the free feed here, on the main feed, I suppose, where he gave us a whole bunch of information about his experiences at the Taj, his relationship with the tourists at the Taj. He was telling us about all the boys playing golf in what they're calling the Jessie Ryder Cup, despite him wanting to call it the Two Girls, One Jessie. And he also told us, in response to an article written about why he wasn't singing the national anthem.
And the disgrace
that was therein. And we called him a piece of shit for not doing that.
Yeah.
And his response was, I was so high on medication because he had back spasms and the neck gear, et cetera, that he doesn't really even remember the first 15 overs of that game, let alone the national anthems. But what he does remember is the doctor came on and said, don't worry about it, mate, but you did bowl shit. So, more information being found out mid-World Cup from the leading wicket taker in the fucking competition. Come on.
Sorry about the value.
Sorry about the value.
Australia, he goes. Would you like my assessment? We can ask for it. I'd like to give it to you.
Give it to me.
Look, I like the signs.
Yes.
And I really, really like the signs, and not because the team is playing any kind of thorough, comprehensive, organised cricket. On the contrary, actually, I'm seeing greed from the public.
Yeah.
Three consecutive scores in excess of 350 plus.
Yeah.
We're not happy. It's great. We wanted 400 a couple of times.
Bottling 400s.
Middle's batting like shit.
Yep.
Now punters come over to the World Cup, so we've got the safety of that voice.
Yes.
He describes the middle overs batting as deplorable. That's fantastic. These are really, really good signs.
Pezza, I am full. I could not have another bite.
Mate, exactly. We got Davey Warner playing sensationally. Now what? Now he's at pains right now to amplify to everybody online just how much he gets India.
He gets it.
And
He's
the
a guy
love affair between the Indian fans and David Warner.
Yes.
They understand him. He understands them.
Yes. In terms of victory laps happening for Davey at the end of his career, maybe not that big a one at the SCG, but definitely one in the, the last games in India.
He gets it.
He gets it.
He embraces
He gets it. Yeah, he gets it.
He's taken the time to disagree with Glenn Maxwell about light shows or some shit.
Just burning him online.
I don't even think, Glenn Maxwell's record-breaking 100 was, the body was even cold yet before Warner came on and rinsed him online about a fucking light show or some
Player
shit.
of the match, a 40-ball 100.
Now, this is good for Australia's chances, he goes, because I've always felt Warner plays his best cricket when he's been a bit abrasive.
Yes.
Abrasive's the wrong word as I say it out loud. A bit coarse. A bit prickly. Now...
You know what's coarse, Pezza? Sandpaper.
Fuck. Now the bin lid. Travis Head.
Well, are you talking about the most important cricketer to ever put on the canary yellow of the Australian fucking cricket team? Is that how you're talking about? Is that the Travis Head that you're referring to, Sam Perry?
The bin lid. This is all of a theme. Australia's getting greedy. Warner's been a coat.
Yeah.
Now the bin lid's just waltzed into this World Cup. His debut innings in the World Cup.
Yeah.
He's faced a couple of fucking tennis balls and he's hit a 59 ball ton. You see what this is laddering up to, right?
Yeah.
This is why I'm liking these signs.
Okay.
The team is absolutely riddled with holes across many phases of each game.
Sure.
But 2 to 3 guys seem to be bringing a very high ceiling each game, and it's proving just enough.
Yep.
New Zealand outplayed Australia in most elements of the game the other night.
Okay.
But a couple of guys came along and went, I've just got too much for you.
Just a thoroughly likeable cricket team, the New Zealand cricket team, and all the best to them in continually losing to Australia in games that matter.
There's a lot of marketing already going on from various networks, some of which we're contracted to, others not.
Sure.
That are essentially marketing this summer as like, watch the boys go around one last time. Right? That's essentially what this summer is. Now, can you imagine we've talked about how through this year, with the Border Gavaskar Trophy, the World Test Championship, and the Ashes, they were the 3 opportunities for this team to go from good to great.
Yep.
Now, whisper it quietly, and I won't.
Okay.
If they manage to jag this World Cup, this group, that's going to go a long, in the circumstances of the entire format of the home team and everything going for them, that's going to go a long way to cementing their legacy. And who among us doesn't want to cement a legacy? Don't get up in the morning, I want to cement my legacy today. Yeah. And I just want to pick up on that word jag.
Okay.
It's because that's the only way Australia's winning this World Cup, and it's the correct posture to take against India, who look like they've got 3 options for every phase of the game.
Yes, and also anytime you park your car at club training or to a game, you don't park your car, you jag a park.
But this is actually 4D chess now from Bailey and the team. India is so comprehensively going to win this World Cup. Australia's just woken up in the morning, a bit late, had to sleep in, bad, stretch your arms.
10:30.
Couple of guys babe, mate, I could eat.
Yeah.
It's a bit, could you eat? I could eat.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm pulling this off.
I mean, they are so close to doing chest 5 days a week. Get these guys out of the nets and get them on the bench press, on the chest flies, on the incline press.
They're tired. They're like, I could eat. You know what I mean?
Australia hasn't even watched these games yet. When Australia watches, I reckon the second half of the semi-final, that's when Aussies will start tuning in, and that's when we'll turn up.
When you see water hogs down at the down at the river there. Let's
water
say
hogs down the river there.
Down your
I know what you mean.
Your Mozambiques or whatnot.
Your Mozambiques and your whatnots.
And then you just see the chief water hog. Just sort of barrel is. Everyone's down there trying to slurp. At the old trough of the river there. Of
course,
God damn it! And
down in Mozambique there.
And then just the super hog just kind of is just woken up. He's had a harem of hogs that he's been dealing with the night before, and he just sort of ambles on and goes out of the way. Yeah. I just feel like that's the posture Australia's trying to take. Just all right, if I have to. That's my analysis. You can get so much other analysis in cricket from every other nonce channel if you want. There's a couple of super hogs who've woken up late and say, I want to eat.
Yeah,
that's what
right.
Is that?
I think that's right.
Is that in line, out of line? Or they could just be like, I'm just too full.
We're going to talk to Adam Gilchrist a little bit later on, hopefully. Of course, that hasn't happened yet, but, I guess we'll see what happens in the future. He played in literally 3 World Cup winning sides in a row, if you will, and I know that you will. And a couple of those times, they didn't lose a single game in the World Cup. Yeah. Now, I don't really recall Australia being so far ahead in any of those World Cups than what India is at the moment from the other teams. South Africa are playing great cricket. We know how it's going to work out. Australia's going to play them in the semi. Australia wins that game, then they lose in the final. And then India beat, and then they win it, and they save the format until the next time. But Australia now just waking up into the tournament, and I feel like Gilchrist is going to get on side with this and be like, I reckon the boys are all right. I reckon the boys are all right, Sure, about a week and a half ago, it was like, We're looking at Argus reviews. We're looking at scrapping the whole system from the grassroots up.
I'm not ruling that out.
I mean, it might happen if we lose the final in such a manner that it's like, well, what are we even doing here anymore? But what was my point? India are good, but I think it's my point being that like India is so far ahead. Then I don't remember an Australian team ever being this far ahead in the 03 and 07
Not
World
in
Cups.
scorecard terms, probably in like Ponting's head terms.
But what I think about the World Cups, okay, you look at like 03 and 07. So in the South Africa World Cup and the West Indies World Cups, when Australia didn't lose a game in either, you look at like the other teams, and the other teams had like some of their best ever players in their history. Like 03 had like Waqar Yunus as an example. Sri Lanka were amazing. Atapatu, just names.
Well,
other guys
just happened to be the first name that got right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What about like in 07 South Africa, who I think actually might have been favourites according to some people? You're like, look at their team in that year; they were fucking amazing.
Yeah,
but this is like everyone else is kind of just like turning up to the tournament.
I'd like to counter. I take your point. I'll take your point. I'd like to counter. Also, like picking up on the way you've described that. Yes, you're right. Other teams were really good in 03 and 07, and on any kind of face value analysis, you would go, oh, okay, they match up well or whatever, and anything can happen. And the lead into it, where Australia's lost games, suggests that it's all pretty close.
Right.
But the truth, and this is what actually panned out, is that like reflected the way we consume it. Like Australia was so far ahead in those World Cups, I guarantee you and I barely watched it. As in, so many of us in Australia were like, well, like it's when push comes to shove, it's done. Whereas this India team, they really are in like sporting analysis terms. They have like length and breadth and talent and depth and like options all over the park, over and above every other team. They've got a rampant home crowd. As we said during the week, everything is coming up India. The semis are meant to be in Mumbai and Kolkata. They haven't even chosen who's going to play where, presumably based on how the table finishes and where India would like to play. I've heard it.
Okay.
That's the word. Apparently they're not growing grass correctly at Kolkata, so it may be an absolute ragger that may assist depending on opponents, etc. My point is that
if
everything
that's true, that's fucking unbelievable.
Any rational analysis, India is just unbackable favourites. And yet they haven't won an ICC tournament since 2013.
Yeah.
No one will admit it. The entire country will be absolutely bricking it about the prospect of a semi-final loss or a final loss to a rampant Australia or South Africa side.
Yeah.
So I didn't think Australia in 03 or 07 ever had to deal with that. Australia in 03 and 07 was like, are we ready to go? Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, some of those games, especially in the South African one, I can think. I mean, you're right. I wasn't actually where there were World Cups that you had to look at before.
All playing sort of threes.
But like in the 03 one, for instance, like England had Australia like 90 for 7 one game. Bickle does something,
That's what I mean.
similar against New Zealand that same World Cup. I don't know, but they still like found a way because the best teams always do. So I take your point. I mean, all the boys are playing golf at the moment, so there is.
That's a really good sign.
That's another good sign. Another really good sign. Yeah.
Warner's been in a coat. We're getting greedy.
Yeah. Standards
are low, even though we've got 350 plus scores on the board.
Yeah. People are angry. People are upset.
Ponting's out there criticising him, which is good. That's good for us.
Good.
Boys are playing golf. Zampa's not playing golf.
Yep.
It's the sign. They've really recovered. Is what I'm saying.
4 wins in a row for the boys. Name the teams they've beaten. Can't even remember the last one.
Exactly.
New Zealand,
another good sign.
Netherlands, Sri Lanka,
Pakistan.
Not in that order, in any capacity. They play England. That's their next game. That's a big one on Saturday. If they win that one, they are more or less guaranteed, sort of. For the no, I don't think that's true. But I mean, they're basically
there's all
there.
sorts of scenarios.
England will be out of the tournament officially if they lose that game. I mean, we've spoken about India there as well, but. Shall we talk about England generally speaking? They sit bottom of the table. More good stuff there because Owen Morgan, obviously, is he the defending World Cup winning captain despite retiring?
Well, I think he's making that clear. I haven't seen someone put so much distance between them and others since we commented on Gideon a few weeks ago. With respect to the great man.
Owen Morgan has been questioning what's happening in the dressing room. That's been vehemently denied by Chris Wokes and Matthew Mott. But now there's also a thing that they found out apparently 90 minutes before the game they lost to against
They lost to India.
Yeah. That's the Champions League. The Champions Trophy qualification, and then they're the Champions League.
There might be a new tournament. Well. That's the Saudi one.
It's Real Madrid, Barcelona, and the England cricket team.
They're saving that one.
The qualification for that tournament is in jeopardy. Now, how it works is the 7 teams plus the host nation play in that tournament. The host nation this time around is Pakistan. That's in 2025. At the moment, so the seven top teams from the World Cup and the host nation. So the top 8. The top 8 make the Champions Trophy. England are currently 10th. They are beneath Bangladesh. The Netherlands are on 4 points. Bangladesh are on 2 points. England on 2 points. So they basically need to win probably 2 of their last 3 games to make the Champions Trophy. Now, that is in an Ashes year, 2025, So, and we're talking about the future of the code itself, the format.
I bet they're gutted.
Yeah.
As we all are, because we've all been, really, I mean, I don't know about you. I've had, when I look at the calendar and everyone talks about the calendar coming out, and I sort of underline the big games.
Yeah.
I've had one eye on the Champions Trophy, which hasn't been played since 2017.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware it was still a thing, to be honest. Also, it's being held in Pakistan, which, of course, India just refused to travel to for the Asia Cup.
So does England get India's spot? I just feel like something will happen. I don't know. I just feel like perhaps India will take it off Pakistan. It feels like they did the Asia Cup.
It feels like a footnote of like us trying to add some comedy to this. Well, England might not make the Champions Trophy.
Oh, totally.
And my response is like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Okay, it's funny in like a quote unquote banter terms, which of course, anytime you use the word banter, that's actually directly proportional to how funny that thing actually is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but I guess the overall point is like, this is genuinely a disastrous tournament for England. Now, like before the tournament, we were thinking like bowling unders compared to last time in 2019 where they had all their players, but batting still looks pretty good. Batting looks very strong, and they haven't scored over 170 in the last 3 games. Thanks to our stat dog segment, I learned that information. So the batting has been remarkably unders. Josh Butler scored 105 runs from 6 innings. He got 43 in the first game, so do the math there for the rest of the innings. Ben Stokes, unretired himself, broke the record for the highest ever ODI score for an England player against New Zealand just before the World Cup, then was injured for the first couple of games. He's not bowling, missed out, played a fucking dreadful shot. You know what? In grade cricket terms, it was a fucking dog of a shot. Against Mo Shami to be dismissed. It just looked like didn't want to be there. They are so on the plane, England. And who else has done stuff? Well, Milan's obviously got to go, despite being the only guy to score 100. Bearso, no runs. Who else plays? Livingston, the other side. Harry Brook hasn't been playing. It's like the selections, they changed the team all over the place. Reece Topley obviously was injured. That's disappointing for him because he was also the best bowler in the tournament for them. Curran out of the side. Wokes couldn't bowl it for a couple of weeks.
Selections are deck chairs, Titanic stuff.
100%.
Really. There's obviously some more macro issue.
A genuine fucking disaster. A disaster for England. Like 1 win from 6. Like the players they have are way better than that.
Well, mate, you hate to see it. You just hate. I don't know. I do think that no press pack does the skewering better. I do know that friends off the show, Ali Martin and Barney Ronay, have non-refundable trips to India, leaving tonight. Shout out to the gentlemen.
Yeah,
I think as a duo, we'll be providing fantastic analysis of the dying embers of this campaign.
No question.
England now have the opportunity though to play the fabled role of party pooper at the
party
tournament.
Pooper. Yeah, okay.
It's a great role to play. Like at its essence, the party pooping is the concept of acting for no personal gain or utility, solely to deny others' success, which we're all familiar with at grade level.
Yep.
It's common in infant developmental milestones. So it can be a positive sign that your child is growing and socializing with the world. You're wanting a toy only because someone else has it, you didn't want it. And so I still think there's a lot on the table for England, such as defeating Australia this weekend, which then sets up a likely showdown between Australia and Afghanistan for a semi-final spot.
Seriously.
So, that's how topsy-turvy the World Cup can be.
Yeah. Afghanistan's 5th at the moment.
This week, we're like, oh, signs are great for Australia, waltzing into a final against India who'll be shitting bricks. This time next week, we could be shitting our pants against fucking Afghanistan.
Yep.
So, you know.
Something to look forward to.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
A bit of schoolboard journalism. Just be up when you're up, down when you're down.
So Afghanistan, they beat Sri Lanka overnight, which means they've now won 3 of their 6 games. They are now 5th. Top 4 make the finals, of course. Afghanistan's next game is against the Netherlands. If they win that game, they would be on 8 points, which is the same amount of points as New Zealand and Australia. Australia is actually at the moment 4th on net run rate.
Right.
New Zealand have harder games. I don't have it in front of me what New Zealand have to play, but they do have to play South Africa. That's actually tonight, I think, isn't it? They play South Africa tonight? Yes, they do.
They got South Africa tomorrow. It doesn't matter as we go to where.
Yeah.
South Africa, then Pakistan, then Sri Lanka.
Yeah. So there are ways and ways. Pakistan have to win all of their games, but Afghanistan at the moment. So Afghanistan have beaten Sri Lanka, they beat Pakistan, and they beat England.
Yeah.
They lost a game against Bangladesh, their first game. They must be fucking kicking themselves to lose that game. It's Bangladesh's only win of the tournament so far. That was in the first game. That was at Durham Charlotte, I think. I'm 90% sure. If they had won that game, they'd be on 8 points with Australia and New Zealand. They didn't. They lost the game.
They lost that game with cricket.
What am I even talking about?
Yeah.
But it just goes to show that
some teams can beat some teams and other times they can't in fixtures of sport.
Welcome back to the great cricketer. Stuff's happening. Hey, you want to talk about Pakistan?
Yeah.
So Pakistan at the moment, they find themselves in about 6th or 7th. They need to win all of their remaining games and basically need New Zealand to fall over, which is possible. But Pakistan players have apparently not been paid for 5 months. That's according to former captain Rashid Latif, who said that Babar Azam, the current captain, has been trying to contact the PCB but with no response.
Yeah, so England thinks it's got problems with central contracts because one guy didn't get one. Well, no one at Pakistan has one.
No one's getting anything. This is also coupled with the news today that Inzamam Ul-Haq, who's the chief selector, he's resigned from his post over conflict of interest. So he's a director of a company called Yazoo International. I think people in the UK might know what that is, like flavoured chocolate milk. Rizwan is also a director of that company, but one of the other directors of the company, there's 4 directors for Yazoo International, there's Inzi, there's Rizwan, and then this other guy who is a director of, he's the managing director of an agency that represents Babar Azam, Shaheen Jarfredi, and Mohammed Rizwan. So there's a bit of conflict of interest there in terms of a selecting capacity. My relationship with Yazoo is at my club in the UK, Farnham, down there in Surrey. We used to have Guinness and Yazoo cocktails.
Oh, now we're talking.
We used to just smash that all in one go, of course. And then jab a banana into the opposition's eye. So you and I having a gazoo with Guinness.
What are you talking about? What?
So we're talking about banana stabbers here, Pezza. That's what we're talking about here in relation to Pakistan.
Hang on. Are you what are you like? I was fully following. I was thinking as you were talking, I'm like, I bet no one in world cricket media has this angle on Yazoo. Like, well, I played at Farnham and we usually did a little cocktail there.
Yeah.
And then, so you get...
So now it's a drinking competition between you and I.
Oh, okay.
So there's a pint of Guinness.
Yeah.
You've got a pint of Guinness.
Yeah.
I've got a pint of Guinness.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Now there's a bit of Yazoo in the Guinness. Yeah. So it's Yazoo and Guinness. Flavoured milk and Guinness.
Okay.
You 3, 2, 1, cheers.
Yeah, got it.
First to finish.
Right.
Picks up banana. The winner, so if I finish it first, you win. You finish it first, and you jab a banana in my eye.
So whoever finishes the drink first is then given the opportunity to take an unpeeled banana. Is it peeled or unpeeled?
Peeled, yeah.
Yeah, a peeled banana and jab it in the other person's eye.
Yep. And that's what's happening with Pakistan at the moment.
That's what's happening with Pakistan. You know what never liked. I mean, the Pakistan administrative calamity is a stereotype, a trope as old as time.
Yeah,
and probably for good reason. The guys should be paid. That matters. It's important. I think it's for many reasons. Was always going to be a difficult World Cup for them, notwithstanding injuries and traveling to India, etc.
Yeah.
I got to say though, man, like there's a cricket show that they have, like a panel show that I keep getting fed.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
that has like Wasim,
Wasim,
Misbah ul Haq, Mohamed Yusuf. Who else is knocking about on it? Like a couple of ex-players. Obviously, with some of them have the greatest beards of all time, like greatest face salad you've ever seen.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of the host.
Everyone looks fucking thick on that panel.
I think
you notice that? As in like the digits are thick, the jaw is thick.
It looks like they're speaking Urdu. And so I don't know what they're saying, but they look like they're having the best fucking time.
They look like they're having a riot.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And like when Pakistan wins, they're dancing, the music's on, it looks sensational.
Get me on that.
And when they're losing, it looks like an extremely entertaining blow-up. And I want to shout out, like it's all connected. I want to shout out to Pakistan cricket. You then go into, and it's another shout out to Crick Buzz and Gaurav Kapoor and Harsha's there, and like Harsha's just going like, there's nothing more comical than the Pakistan cricket administration. And he's right, but he goes on to say, you know, to forewarn that like, it's when Pakistan's at its lowest ebb that the lotus blooms.
Oh,
and so,
okay.
You know, I believe stuff. He's also cornered line stuff, but actually, you know, like they're 2 and 4. There's still a mathematical chance.
Yeah.
Everything's gone to shit, and whoever is going to run into them is going to get smashed. You know what I mean? And it's going to be like Tamasha.
You know, obviously, no one in world cricket wants them to finish 4th and New Zealand miss out because the semi-final will then be India.
No, no one wants that.
Nobody wants that circumstance at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's Pakistan.
Anything else good happening in the group? I mean, South Africa's still doing amazing stuff.
Shout out New Zealand.
Why?
You know, cute.
So disrespectful.
Yeah. Shout out New Zealand. I mean, that game was over in 14 balls. That was very clear. All the WhatsApps were going around. The game was done. Yeah, they run it close, but just not close enough. No, shout out Daryl Mitchell, who I think would be in any World ODI 11. He looked amazing against Australia.
Wouldn't make our side.
Well, yeah. He would.
Quite easily.
And Rachin Ravindra as well, who just...
what a player.
What a player. Ooz's class. Someone on Patreon wrote, you know, when can we... Jimmy, when can we crowded house Russell Crowe? This kind of stuff with Rachin Ravindra starts claiming. I think India has already kind of done whatever the equivalent is there. Something about his name. I don't know what it was. Someone on Patreon pointed out his name's a portmanteau of something. I don't know what. Someone on Patreon pointed out, I think it's Ray Hadley and Lee Lin Chin. So maybe there is an Australia connection. Shout out Rachin Ravindra. Love to get him on one day.
If you want our reaction to all the games happening the following morning, if you want to wake up to that sort of gear, you can get to the audio on Patreon, patreon.com/Grade Cricket. You can, of course, watch our shit on YouTube as well, if that's how you want to consume it. We went past 250,000 subs last week or something. How did that make you feel? Anything?
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
All right. There's something. So that's the World Cup. Should we talk to Adam Gilchrist now?
Oh, okay.
And not with him, talk to him.
Yes, talk at him.
All right, here's us talking at Adam Gilchrist.
We are extraordinarily lucky to have one of Australia's greatest ever cricketers with us on the show this week, a 3-time World Cup winner, relevantly. So he knows how to get it done. Gilly, welcome back to the Grade Cricketer for the 3rd time.
Thank you very much, lads. What a pleasure. I feel like it was the pleasure was all yours last time, and now the pleasure's all mine, given the status that you both have moved to within cricketing circles. But good to chat. Love your work. It's good to be catching up again.
Yeah. Oh, just a bit more interest in talking to us now, sort of moved up in the cricket world.
We might have mentioned before, I have looked at those texts you send through and scrolled back through about 14 unanswered ones from me. And then I thought, oh, Jesus, that's an honour to go on that one. I better get that.
Gilly, a lot of people in Australia will know you as the voice of Fox Cricket through the summer. And I'm keen to know what, a legend of the game actually gets up to in between Australian summers. Like, are you an avid cricket watcher? Are you all over the World Cup? Is it an every ball sort of thing? Or is it like you've played so much cricket, you know how it goes? How do you kind of relate to the game?
Well, I guess a good indication might be, Pez, is that when you asked me and I was honoured seriously to be asked to do that, the live show in London the night before the second test, the Lord's Test. And unfortunately, wasn't in London then. I missed the show. I actually missed the whole test. And I don't know, did I miss much? I haven't. Google second test Lord's Ashes, and I can't find anything. I don't know what happened in that one, but that's because I was in Greek islands, Italy, France, doing everything possible that never really got the chance to do as a player. We had the big family European vacation. So I switched off this winter. I haven't done a lot of cricket stuff at all, if any, but keeping an eye on the World Cup. It's been a funny old tournament, hasn't it? Like, you talk to a lot of people. A couple of close results in recent days, as you'd be aware, lads, but hasn't captured the imagination of everyone just yet. And I think that, without getting too serious about it, that opening image of game one of effectively an empty stadium, probably where everyone out here hears from tragics like us saying India is, that is cricket heaven. They love it. They'll watch any cricket. They know every cricketer. And then the showpiece event opens with pretty much empty stadium at the start. I think they half filled it or quarter filled it, didn't they, with about 40,000 by the end of it. But so it's been an interesting one to follow. But the wheels are getting in motion now, and you get to as they say, the pointier end and a few upsets.
It must be, Gilly, every time a 50 over World Cup comes around, and like, there's just I don't know if you remember this, but you scored 100 against Sri Lanka in a final once, and you had a squash ball half one in your glove.
Oh, the squash ball.
You might not remember that, but like every time the World Cup comes around, like the notifications just be. Do you remember when Gilly did this?
Yeah, little tidbit.
Yeah,
it's magic, and you actually hope this is where India struggles, because you don't get the washouts in India, so they put the old reruns on. Whereas. I wish I did a bit more in the Sydney Test match over the years, because you guarantee a couple of reruns there. Tugger keeps getting his 100 against England played and shit like that. But nice to reminisce, sit back and think of the various World Cups. I had the honour of playing in 3, and we got up in 3 of them. But that Barbados one, I was actually asleep just before we went out to bat in that one. So it was the ultimate, we heard Glenn Maxwell say he was a little bit too aroused when he went out there in Bangalore and donged first ball up in the air. So I guess I went the other way in the final in 2007 and tried to be as unaroused as possible by going to sleep before we went out to bat, and got a juicy half volley from Varsi first ball and smoked it straight to Murali, and thought, this is a good day for batting. We'll pin the big ears of mine back and give it a crack.
Is it, when you're doing like that content capture and you get asked about the squash ball in the hand, like I know like Paul McCartney's out here touring and he must have to take a big breath before he sings Hey Jude for the 7,000th time in his life, maybe 70,000th. Like, do you just put the big old mask on and just go to work? Well, you see, what happened was I was just out of form a bit.
Yeah, yeah, there's an element of that, but I suppose one day no one will ask you about it. But I probably, with that tournament, like to go back to the start of the tournament. It's probably the more memorable moment, pivotal moment, perhaps. I was late to the tournament. I didn't miss any of the main games, but I missed a few of the practice games at the start, which it's always a strategic move the closer you get to the end of your career, how you miss those games. No one wants to play them, the warm-up games.
It's like Khawaja with Shield cricket.
Yeah. So 9 months out, decided to get my wife pregnant so I could stay behind for the birth of my child and delay going to the Caribbean, which worked perfectly. So I got there to St. Vincent, small island, where we were based in the warm-up phase of that tournament. Got there. I actually, unfortunately, had to play one of the practice games, but I landed that night, got wife and baby home. Mel and Archie, his name was, home, all safe, flew over there, landed, a bit reluctant to leave. I was starting to drag the chain a bit about having to leave another newborn. Got to the West Indies, grabbed big Matty Hayden, grabbed a couple of beers and a big stogie and went down to the beach and decided to wet the baby's head to a certain extent and celebrate. Did the same the next night.
Yeah.
And then fortunately, each of those nights kicked on a bit later than just down at the beach. But finally, Buchanan and Ponting dragged me in and asked me, am I switched on? Am I ready to go? They were a bit concerned I wasn't, my mind wasn't in it, as they say. And it's time to stop. And I did take on board what they said, and I did actually use all my experience to, guys, can I have one more night? And
just one more.
Just give us one more.
This is leadership. Buck said yes. Yeah. So basically the whole team went out for one massive blowout right at the start of the tournament to get that done. And then away we went. Steamroll. Didn't look like losing the game. And we
Well, I just want to ask you on that, Gilly, because I don't know actually where it's from. It just popped up on my social media feed, as these things do. And it's Ricky talking about the 2007 World Cup. And apparently he was asked by a journalist, like, what's it like going into a tournament where you guys are not the favourites? Yeah. And Hunter was like, well, he did say, I'm paraphrasing, he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? But he's
how
like,
offended was he?
Yeah, he was like, mate, I want you sitting there at the end of this tournament. And obviously, yeah, you guys didn't lose a game during that 34-game winning streak in the World Cup or whatever. But do you remember Australia not being favourites in that World Cup?
I think that was on the back of just prior to that tournament, we played a 3-game series, didn't we, in New Zealand?
Right.
But I didn't go on that trip. I think we rested 2 or 3 of us, I suppose, of the core players. I'm not even sure if Punter went, but Haydos got a 190 or something at Hamilton. And
I remember that, yeah.
Losing cause, which, those numbers were extraordinary, 350 or something like that in those days. So, yeah, but I reckon we might have lost 3-0 to New Zealand over there. But so maybe it was on the back of that. And I think more the point was we're an aging group, which we were, a few of us, but we still had a bit of sting in the tail and got over there and settled in.
The current Australian team is a bit of an aging group as well. Do you think they still have sting in their tail? Like, what have you made of the campaign so far? Do they need a blowout? They look like they're turning the corner. They've put together a couple of good games, and yet there's still a few holes there. I mean, Ricky called out deplorable middle overs batting the other day. What are you making of the team?
Yeah, that batting, I suppose it's easy to, on the back of 2 massive opening partnerships, it's not very often where the whole batting lineup in limited overs cricket fires.
Mm-hmm.
To come in at none for 270 or whatever it was, or none for 180 in Dharamshala, where you're daydreaming and getting all spiritual and herbal because you're up around the Dalai Lama and there's, wafts of different smells coming through the stadium. It's so pieced out up there. It's the bloke's been up there.
No, love to.
Because they canned that test match up there, didn't they, last time?
Yeah.
Got to get up there. You blokes doing a pod from up the top there. A place called McLeod Gange. Jesus. That will take it to, the highest level, really, because
I love that level.
I'll put my hand up for that too when you take it on. But, yeah, it's not often, everyone fires all the way through because, as Maxie said, you go out there so that the eyes are rolling a bit. You got to balance it all up. So if they're getting the job done, I just think they're rolling into a nice bit of rhythm. I get to the semis, you hear that cliche, it's tournament play, and we used to dine out on that. I think that grew after the 99 World Cup, where we battled against Scotland, lost in a surprise against New Zealand, got pumped by Pakistan. All of a sudden, we couldn't lose another game, no matter what. Different format back then, but we just couldn't drop another game. Otherwise, we're cooked. But we scraped and scrapped and got into that next round. And then we obviously get to the semi, and then Herschel drops Tugger. Then we get to the semi, it's a tie, and then we play the perfect match. So after that, I think we all started going, oh, yeah, it's all about tournament play. We certainly didn't mention that before the tournament. We didn't say, let's take it easy and peak at the right time. Bullshit. We were trying to win every game. We got knocked over by a couple of unfancy teams early, and we were on wood the whole way through. So, but there is a little bit of truth in that saying, that cliche, just get to the knockout phase. And after that knockout, anything's possible. So I don't think India are still favourites. They're still playing the perfect cricket. A lot of people say, don't play your perfect cricket all the way through. Well, I reckon bullshit to that too. We managed to do that in the Caribbean and got the trophy. So I don't think teams would want to play Australia in a semi. And then on the final, it's anyone's guess. So I think they're as good as chance as any to win it. India's still number one seeds.
I asked Watto the same question a couple of weeks ago, Gilly, and just about like that's like playing on the stereotype of teams, like Australia has this arrogance, and other nations say, yeah, but Australia's always so good in ICC events, right? And I look at like the blistering start of India, South Africa have been tremendous. And they're just like, you get to a semi-final and Australia's going to be wearing the canary yellow and South Africa's going to be wearing their green. And it's like, South Africa knows what they're going to do and they're going to fall over. Like were you as a player, because in 07, going back to that, you guys played against South Africa in the semi-final and you bowled them out for 100 and something. And they had a great team, as they always do, South Africa. But like, did you play on that emotion as well as like, you guys are going to choke, India always fall over in the big tournaments as well? Did you play on that feeling?
Look, I personally didn't. I was nervous. I was, really nervous, and I hated to tempt fate. So I thought, nah, just, the old cliche, none for none, got to do my work, get myself right, because you just don't know what's coming. But punter, it's a really good reference, that game here, the semi against South Africa, because punter, we were throwing it around within our team that we thought Jack Callis, clearly world-class, if not the premier all-rounder, certainly statistically across all forms of the game ever, really, or certainly up in the conversation. But we throw around, he's just a bit slow. He's not getting it moving enough. He's so reliable, but he's not winning them games with his bat in regards to tempo. But I was never going to say that, because come out, you'll get 50 off 20. But punter threw it out there in the media the day before that semi, and Callis came out and tried to charge pigeon third ball and lost his off stump, which was very un-Callis-like. So I can only assume that that's got inside his mind a little bit. I don't know, I've never asked JK that, but I think that was one of the great strengths of Buchanan, was kept us all grounded, kept us all focused, and that old term that I do remember through all the World Cups getting to the knockout phase and saying, the game owes us nothing. This tournament owes us nothing. It's afforded us the right to play a knockout, a semi-final or a final, but it doesn't owe us anything. It's because we're undefeated. We played Sri Lanka in 2003 and we were undefeated, and we played them in the semi, and Buck in a team meeting goes, is anyone worried about that myth that, you got to lose a game? You can't just keep winning? And my hand shot up. I'll fucking packing nuggets here. I reckon we're cooked. I don't know what's going on. And he just said, it's a myth. It's absolute rubbish. There's no statistical sort of evidence that means you have to lose a game.
Yeah.
If you lose games, there's no command that they have to. So little mind games like that do come into it when you get into the top end.
Yeah.
So could you indulge me then, Gilly, in a bit of like a virgin fanfic, because there's a lot of our listeners, including me as well, who are virgins who like fan fiction. But like with that in mind, India are a team that like may also not believe in the have to lose one to win the tournament, the loss you have to have and stuff like that. Can you like imagine, the 03 to 07 team of your pomp led by Ricky Ponting trying to psychologically get under the skin of this Indian side, this current Indian side? Where would you, what sort of comments or barbs would you throw out in the media? Who are you targeting? How do you kind of expose any fragility that might be there in this Indian side that really looks like it just simply cannot lose?
Yeah. Well, I'd employ Michael Vaughan as our PR agent. I think he does a wonderful job in his social media stuff to absolutely heap praise on India. And all the
praise.
Yeah.
And all the comments that come back from the Indians are, you're trying to put the mocker on us, you're trying to. So there might be some sort of method there, but geez, I don't know what we'd, India now, well, in 03, when we played India in the final at the Wanderers, that felt like we were in Mumbai. Such was the the Indian crowd, which is typical of any Indian cricket anywhere around the world. There's a support base for them. So it all felt like it was going their way, and they had a good team. Tendulkar and Ganguly and Dravid and all those guys, Sehwag. So, but they won the toss. Ganguly won the toss and walked past McGrath. He chose to bat and he chose to bowl, walked past McGrath, and McGrath just said, "That's your first mistake of the day." So just subtle little alpha plays, just little things like that might be. And it did prove to be the first mistake because it was overcast when the toss went up. And as Haydos and I walked out the bat, like the parting of the clouds was, and the sun came through, and first over went for 15, I think, from Zahir Khan. So off we went. But yeah, Rohit's been good, hasn't he? I like compared to other ICC tournaments or other World Cups. This, and watch Virat's fans light up when they hear this. But I think Rohit's calmness and well, it wasn't Virat, it was probably MS last time, was it? Well, watch those fans light up. But I just think Rohit's had a real calmness about him. I've loved him, played IPL with him when he was 19 or 20 in the first 3 years, and just such a cool character. And that fine line, a bit like Mark Waugh, where is he trying? Does he give a shit? Or is he just too talented and doesn't need to look like he's trying? So he's just doing a great job there. And he's got such a well-balanced unit. They can call on any substitute, which you blokes pointed out the other day. Shemi comes in as a sub, gets 5. They get Sky in. He can whack them around. So it doesn't matter. The bench strength is pretty strong. I don't know where you want to sell them, really. Maybe just that old adage of the expectation will get the better of them. But they're pretty experienced, confident cricketers with a really balanced leader at the moment.
Do you reckon, Gilly, that the difference between this Indian side compared to ones you played against, or even the last couple of editions in sort of 2015 and 2019, that like India's always had good batters, right? They've always had top level guys that have huge numbers, but their bowling's probably been slightly unders. Like I feel like bowling typically wins you. The best bowling attack typically wins you tournaments, and I feel at the moment with Bumrah, Shami, Siraj, Kuldeep Yadav is so good. Jadeja, he's good as well, And then obviously Hardik Pandya when he's been playing. Do you think that's the difference compared to even say 03? Just to put into your era where they had great batters, but their bowling might have been just slightly unders?
Well, that's a bloody good point, actually.
Actually, I like that.
Not you.
Not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
You guys know your cricket, don't you? Shit, actually.
Bit of a drive-by on you there as well, Gilly. I mean, you made runs against that Indian team, and you guys have just said,
Maybe unders.
They were unders.
Sort of international twos, really. Yeah.
Played punter, 140 in a final, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Against Ashish Nira. Okay. Yeah. Well.
It is well. Think of our 3 in a row. Warner McGrath in any team is going to win games in any format, really. And then even 07, the guile of Nathan Bracken bowling his left arm, sort of almost fast off spinners. He was almost unplayable on those dry decks in the Caribbean. So, yes, I think you're spot on. Here you go. I think that is where we've seen that elevation of Indian cricket across the board, coming out here, particularly in test matches, 2 tours in a row, not losing. Well, 2 tours in a row winning. Did they win both series? I think they did, didn't they?
Yeah, both, yeah.
And I think that is on the back of the bowling unit and not just the spin, probably more so the development of their fast seam bowling on the back of that. So it's, all bases covered. And you've got Ashwin just sitting there prowling around, waiting for the right conditions to come in and absolutely embarrass everybody with his skill. So, good unit, strong.
England, Gilly, you hate to see it. What's undone them? The format, the 100, Bazball, central contracts, Stokes, Milan, Owen Morgan's comments. What is it?
I haven't really thought much about it. You sort of got to contain yourself a little bit, don't you? It's some of the chat that came out from that Ashes, during the Ashes, after it, there's a real oddness to it, wasn't it? There's an awkwardness and uneasiness to it. I don't think it ever really, it didn't get, abusive in a way of a really personal pointed, aggressive nature, but there was a lot of heat in it, and it continues on clearly. So, and that was just as an outside observer, but just, look, for a lot of it, let others say it about you. You don't need to say it about yourself. So just that's probably the main thing. And the great cricketing gods, as they say, who knows? They've been amazing, haven't they, for 6 or 7 years? They've certainly had to do something after 2015, and they got that right, and they've been the world leaders in white ball stuff for a while now. So all those sort of cycles do come to an end eventually, but geez, it's come to a screaming halt. But the contract timing is extraordinary. That is, how does that happen in modern management? Not just sport, but just in any organisation. How do you drop that in the middle of a tournament? It's just mind blowing how they can stuff that up. So they got a fair few things wrong in hindsight, and they're going to pay the price. Looks like no Champions Trophy, it seems. Everyone will be gutted about that. I didn't even know the Champions Trophy was still on.
Neither did we.
Clearly needed to be modded.
Yeah, exactly.
What? Champions what?
Champions what?
That's hockey, isn't it?
It's hockey. It's hockey. Yeah.
Missed out.
Gilly, I'm tempting fate here because Australia's got 3 games left in group stages. England, Afghanistan, Bangladesh. Anything can happen here. But and there's been a few quote unquote upsets in the tournament. But Australia, typically speaking, has been quite Australia doesn't really suffer upsets in World Cups. We just sort of win the games we do, and then you lose games against India and England at times and whatever. So obviously now Australia's going to lose all 3 games and miss out on the playoffs or whatever. So that's how it's going to be. But I can't remember a game that you would have played in where it was like a shock upset. Maybe 2005 against Bangladesh. Did you play that game where Bangladesh won in England?
I did.
Did you? So can you think of any other games where like you had a big upset like that, or was it just that one?
Yeah, that game was Roy's match.
Yes.
Yeah. Where, the fact that he drank until 7 a.m. wasn't really the giveaway. And then he stumbled onto the bus and fell asleep in the 5-minute journey to the ground. The real giveaway was when he tried to do his calf stretch and he pushed against a wheelie bin, and that's where it fell out from underneath him. So that was the giveaway that he's probably not fit. God love the big fella. We miss him dearly. That was like seismic that he shutters, wasn't it, around the cricket world?
Exactly.
Took us down. It's funny, we batted first at 3 for 40 is when Roy, who batted at 5, would have been going in, and he was desperately keen to play, and turn around and look at him over in the corner of the change room, and he is sound asleep, just cap down, just absolutely out of it. So would have been, maybe he should have played. We might not have lost, but what other? Look, no, I don't think so. We played Holland a few times.
Yeah.
Scotland, we played a few times. Yeah, they probably weren't the amount of what we would say minnows or
no, sure.
Around now, which is good. What Afghanistan are doing and Holland, it's bloody exciting, actually, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's not just and that was always a complaints about having them in the tournament, because they were just foregone conclusions. So it has actually made it a bit more interesting in that regard.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I guess what I'm asking is because, I feel like if Australia lose against Afghanistan or Bangladesh, I reckon there would be a fucking meltdown in Australia. Like we're looking at like complete reviews of the system. Great cricket's got to change. What does this mean for the Big Bash? So we almost don't accept it. So I guess like what I'm asking is, what do you remember of the fallout of the game against Bangladesh when you guys lost in 2005?
Yeah, well, we had some serious meetings that night.
Yeah.
Just trying to get to the bottom of what happened the night before the game. What we do with Roy, think Cricket Australia from memory wanted to drag him home. Punter and myself and Buck fought very hard to keep him there. He ended up player of the series too, by the way, after 2 game suspension. And that went till late in the night. We then had to get on the bus and drive from Cardiff to Bristol, because that game, the Bangladesh game, was on a Saturday. We then had to drive to Bristol and play England the very next day at Bristol. So we got to bed late, up early for a day game at Bristol. The bus pulled up outside the Bristol ground and dropped us, unloaded all our kit bags on the wrong side of the ground. So we all had to do the walk of shame, getting our bloody kit bags around the edge of the ground while all the Pommy supporters sitting there with the Sunday papers with headlines about Bangladesh bloody giving it to us. So it was a pretty good day. And then Kevin the Skunk Peterson went out and got 80 not out and knocked us down. So it was a shit weekend all round, really. But the fallout was more about how we were going as a team, were we focused and so on. And well, maybe the fractures had appeared there early on what went on to be the handing back of the Ashes about 2 or 3 months later.
Gilly, I know you're probably obligated to talk this up as the voice of Fox Cricket. What are you looking forward to this Australian cricketing summer, if anything?
I had somewhat of a reunion at Gordon Cricket Club last week, so I'm hoping that hasn't been the peak.
All right.
It was a wonderful day and night, I can tell you that.
You guys not invited? Yeah.
No, I was invited, but
right.
like they asked me first, and then they couldn't get me, so they got Gilly.
Got Gilly.
Yeah, got Gilly. Yeah. So a couple of stags. Yeah.
It's amazing the fine detail with which guys that played in finals back in the early 90s can remember and recall every nut.
Yeah.
Every single delivery. Well, goes without saying, every dismissal. Every celebration. Mind you, they recalled myself and a young mate of mine, Paul McLean. We came down from Lismore to play in our first year, and we won the premiership. And the whole celebration in the Gordon Rugby Club, all he and I wanted to do, we lived in a flat above a pizza shop in Roseville, and all we wanted to do was try and steal the stag's head off the wall in the rugby club. And we had it off the wall, ready to go to the train station to get it back home to our unit. But some old geezer pulled us up. And so that was regaled with great fun at the catch up the other day. But, this summer, I reckon Big Bash is going to be massive.
Yeah.
Huge. Pakistan tests, anything could happen. So I hope they fire a shot. And then after that, Jesus, the West Indies aren't filling us with great confidence that it's going to be much of a contest. That's the reality of it. But the Big Bash will be interesting. That shorten it up, listen to the fans, the broadcasters, the players. Credit to Cricket Australia for rolling the dice on this one. So we'll see how that goes. Contained in the school holidays. So hopefully that keeps the fire burning.
Let me just ask you, one you're probably going to get 1,000 times before the summer starts. I mean, it's relevant to you. Are you picking David Warner in that first test? Is it a fait accompli because he's scoring runs at the World Cup, or are you giving a new player a couple of hits ahead of a big India series next year?
Oh, I've got no doubt they'll pick him. That
wasn't my question there.
It's almost morphing into somewhat. It's 2 games more than what Ian Healy wanted. So Heels wanted the farewell at his home ground.
Yeah.
Didn't get it. So
what happened?
What happened there?
What happened there?
What happened with that? Who came in?
Who came in for him?
Some imposter from somewhere else. A mate of mine before my test debut at the Gabba for that test match gave me a little, almost like a card, a timber box, and you open it up and it's got a can of 4X with 2 cigars in it. So the can of 4X was for me to warm up before game how to dodge it, get another teammate to throw it at me. This one cigar was for my first test duck and one was for my first test 100. So
cool.
I think I accomplished both in that summer. So managed to get them down. But Warner will get picked. Would I? Look, he'll get picked.
Hey,
he deserved it, right? That's the question I keep up. Did I can see completely why those in the system, in the bubble, the selectors, the teammates, the captains, like everyone say he has earned the right, and all that stuff. I've been there in a team, and I was like that. Like, you should be able, if you play long enough, you should be able to call it and all that. But the more I reflect on it, and that Healy situation was clearly pivotal for me. We then also, on the flip side of you've earned the right, we always say we should never hand out, test matches as token sort of shows of appreciation. So he's forced their hand a little bit, hasn't he, to allow this sort of discussion. And it'll be interesting to see. But, geez, he's creaming them now. So probably, I think, I probably would pick him, actually, because he's going to come back there full of confidence, and he'll smack them and finish in grand style at the SCG. So, yeah, put him in.
He's a colleague.
A good news, Gilly. Pakistan coming out this summer. That means get the reruns of JL and Gilly down at Hobart.
There we go.
Yes.
They got a partnership.
Get those yarns ready.
Did JL hit it?
Did he hit it? The old creaky handle.
Yeah, the old creaky.
You see?
Many good memories.
Yeah, I reckon they can show that test a lot. I don't reckon Scotty Muller's going to be tuning in too much. That's probably not his highlights reel, but poor bastard. But they can show all that series if they like.
Yeah,
that'd be good. I reckon lots of reruns.
Last one from me, Gilly. In 2013, Wisden named its all-time 11 for the last 150 years. Post your career, England's got 4 players and Australia's got 2. Okay. Number 7, the wicketkeeper they picked as Alan Knott. Good keeper, 95 tests, 4,389 runs at 32, 250 catches, 19 stumpings.
Pretty good.
Good behind the pegs. Adam Gilchrist, 96 tests, 5,570 runs at 47.6,
right.
1,700s. But maybe Knott's got him in catches with the same number of test
gloves.
Yeah, Gilchrist, 379 catches.
Oh, quite a
so 130 more. 37 stumpings, so double the number of stumpings.
Yeah, right.
I haven't even got to white ball there. What'd you do to Wisden? Live it?
When was that picked? That one?
2013.
2013, right. Okay.
What happened there?
Yeah, what happened?
Any danger?
Got no idea what happened there. But, I mean, I was good with the stick, and then the gloves, a bit unreliable. That's what they tell me. It was the bowlers, Warner McGrath, so it wasn't, they just literally got the ball to land in my gloves all the time, which was perfect. It was easy. And I had a top 6 that were to die for, to bat behind. So
good point.
I get it. They know their shit.
Yeah. Were you actually that good? That's the question.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I was starting to ask myself that myself by the end of my own career. Seriously, I wondered if I'd fluked it.
Yeah, you got very lucky.
I personally thought Heel should have kept going. That's just how I saw it.
Have you ever thought about doing any of those master classes actually in front of the bin? How to sweep,
and yeah.
Oh, in the SEN bin, yes. Seen those. I saw that. Yeah, that's good. I bet the current players love watching those.
Oh, yeah.
Like when Haydos went out with his pink bloody Akuba on and the brush, a broom, 15 minutes after they got out to 8 sweep shots. The body wasn't even cold for that test match. And he's out there.
The pink Akuba. He's out. You do it.
Oh, the big fella. I love him. Mr. In.
Oh, the big DOS.
Gilly, thank you so much. Very kind of you to share your time and deal with us actually being late here. Lifting the lid on that one. Mate, wishing you the best for the summer. I'm sure we'll catch up with you and chat another time.
look forward to it, and look forward to what is it? January.
I don't know what you're talking about, mate.
We can edit that out. Great chatting, guys. Look forward to seeing you at some stage over the summer. It'll be good.
Always such a pleasure to have Gilly on the show. How many times is that? Is that 3 times we've had him on the show?
Yeah.
Over the course of 252 episodes. Thrice. A three-peat.
Yeah.
Not really a three-peat because it wasn't 3 in a row, was it? But it's been a fair while since we last had him on the show. Yeah. Anyway, nice to have him on. Or did that happen? I'm not sure.
Yep.
The Australian T20 squad has been announced for their 5-match series against India. Now, this is what...
Straight off the back of the World Cup, right?
Straight off the back of it. I think the first game actually starts 2 hours after the final.
This is the big one.
This is the big one.
I cannot wait for this series.
It's a 5 T20 series against India, in India. And here's the squad for Australia. Matthew Wade is captain. The names have been mentioned that are David Warner, Travis Head, Steve Smith and Glenn Maxwell, Matt Short, Marcus Stoinis, Tim David, Josh Inglis, Jason Berendorf, Sean Abbott, Nathan Ellis, Spencer Johnson, Adam Zampa, Tanvir Sanger. Some notable outs there. Cummins Stark Hazelwood, Agar not declared fit, and also Aaron Hardy, who was in South Africa before the World Cup. He has not been included in this squad. So that's the squad. But the most interesting thing there is that Matt Wade is captain. Mitch Marsh is not in the squad.
That's the outstanding question for Australia going to the World Cup next year. Has Matt Wade been appointed captain with a view to him leading that side to the T20 World Cup in West Indies and USA next year? Or is he holding it over until it is bequeathed to Mitch Marsh? I'd be happy with either, to be honest. I need a bit of, they're nervous, we're calm.
Well,
Mitch
Marsh's captaincy for the T20 series was very successful in South Africa when they won that series. So there's that. I also saw an article this morning from Alex Malcolm, friend of the show, with Matt Wade, who was saying he wasn't sure if he was going to be the wicketkeeper for the T20 World Cup. Obviously, Josh Inglis is in the squad as well, and he's been doing okay since he's come into the ODI setup. Different format altogether. But yeah, it's also interesting that Wade hasn't even really been appeared to be anywhere near the ODI squad. For whatever reason, but yeah, he's captaining that squad, and we're obviously really looking forward to that. Those 5 games.
Warner and Smith included in that squad. I mean,
and Travis Head.
Yeah,
like put that in the wouldn't have thought so category.
So I don't know. I sort of feel like the body's just sort of stiffening up a little bit. There's a calf there or something.
Yeah. I
don't know. I think Smith. I don't know if you caught this. I just don't know if you caught this, mate.
Yeah.
As you know, I'd like to peruse my sports pages, particularly, and I'm sorry to get niche here, but my Sydney sports pages. And I saw Danny Weidler was reporting that, let's call it a furrowed brow. I wouldn't say a crow's feet. It's a different thing.
Okay.
Weidler with furrowed brow over news that Steve Smith was selling a house in Bronte.
Right.
Connecting it with the fact that Smith has an apartment in New York, with strange continuing whispers about his future in the game, and linking them to as Weidler is wont to do, offer the question of whether that was indicative of what Steve Smith might be doing into the future. He's selling his house.
Okay.
Steve Smith selling his house. Did a little bit of digging, domain.com, etc.
Yeah, my Bible.
It actually appears that Smith is flipping a house in Bronte that he bought in 2019 for 3.5.
Yeah.
Which is his right to do, by the way. No shaming of this. He might get 7 for it. There's an article about this. Yeah, he got it 3.5, might get 7s, high-end finish, marble kitchen, oak flooring, etc. Now, that's to go. So you're like, okay, well, he's just selling one house. Maybe he is moving. But he only bought it a few years ago. Does he flip houses? Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
That's to go to the house in Vaucluse. They flipped last year. Bought it for 6 in 2020.
6. What did they go for?
Got 12 and a bit.
Double up.
12 and change. Lavish redesign. So, Anyway, so good for him. But this is what you do when you just sort of dig in journalism a little bit. It's kind of like Weidler's like, he might be selling something. Nah, he's a flipper. He flips.
Greg Chappell has set up a GoFundMe page with a target of $250,000.
That's a hard segue. Now, be very clear, the laugh is not at Greg Chappell's financial hardship there. Okay.
As of this morning, it had $98,000 contributed to it. I went on this morning, and also if you want to contribute, you can Google GoFundMe Greg Chappell, and it's the first thing that comes up. But you already know how to do that because you know how to use the internet.
A lot of press about this last week, like all coordinated press.
So this is from Dan Brettig via the Nine Papers, quoting Greg Chappell here. Unfortunately, I had a business setback a few years ago. I didn't need to go into details about it, but the opportunity cost went with that situation. The years of sorting out the finances just meant that not only did I not have much coming in, but there was nothing to invest. I really don't enjoy the public side of it. It was my situation. I was dealing with it. It wasn't something that I wanted to make a big deal about. The boys wanted to do something, and it just seemed like a nice, quiet way of doing it. Very hard to keep anything quiet. The boys, Brettig says, were Canberra businessman Peter Maloney and former Essendon president David Evans, who talked Chappell into a benefit lunch at the MCG last Monday. Hosted by former Collingwood president Eddie Maguire and attended by his brothers Ian and Trevor, it raised about $250,000, while a GoFundMe page has included donations by the likes of Cricket Australia chair Mike Baird, former Victoria captain Simon O'Donnell, Scoob, and ACT Cricket's chair Greg Borer. I said to him, this is Maloney speaking. I said to him, I take it that you're not doing that well financially. I bullied him into it, Maloney said. Rod Marsh and Dennis Lilly retired at the same time. They took testimonials. He didn't. It was pretty successful. He was pretty successful in business, but it's some major setbacks. One of the reasons I did this lunch and the reason Greg agreed to this, there is a whole heap of cricketers that are on the bones of their arse. There would be 10 to 15 of these guys. We all know their names who are struggling, Maloney said. That's all via Dan Brettig. So, obviously, like, what's the right word? Troubling, sad, depressing to hear of a legend of the game, an icon of the game, Greg Chappell, struggling financially in the realm of having to put together a fundraiser or agreeing to put together a fundraiser for himself for $250K. There's just like, it's extremely difficult to comment on this publicly, Pezza, and walk the tightrope of being interested by this and also feeling an enormous amount of sympathy for someone that is struggling financially in any capacity, whether they be one of Australia's greatest ever cricketers or someone who is not one of Australia's greatest ever cricketers. I just like my personal original reaction to this was like a bit crow's feet. Greg Chappell's needs $250K from people because he's made some bad business decisions. Like I'm getting like sort of crow's feet at that, thinking about that, because I mean, he had Greg Chappell Cricket Centre. His name is on every single floppy hat in the country. He coached India. Pretty sure he either coached or mentored Australia A in the 90s. He is broadcast on Channel 9. He's written in papers. He is a man that I would imagine would get a decent fee for public speaking at the thousands of sportsmen's luncheons that go across the country every single day or weekend. So I'm getting like crow's feet at that a bit, because it's like, well, I mean, he made some bad calls in business. Shouldn't he just like sort that out? But at the same time, you know, he can also do whatever he wants, and people are happy to contribute this money. Obviously, if you are listening to this and you're thinking that you would like to contribute to this, then you should go ahead and do that. You can find the link on the internet. But so I'm just walking the tightrope there with that. It's just I suppose in many ways it's depressing and it's sad to think that like someone is struggling, and also a bit like, well, fucking heaps of people across the world that are really struggling. And if you made a bad call in business, then like, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I do know what you're saying. I think it's a relevant point potentially from the perspective of other players of his era who perhaps didn't, have the success he had in their careers. Without that brand to leverage. So yeah. I think personally, Greg Chappell's completely entitled to raise the funds that,
of course,
he may want if people would like to help him.
Mm-hmm.
It also occurs to me that we were discussing this the other day, but like maybe for us of our vintage and our age where we didn't grow up watching Greg Chappell, we might lack the emotional connection to him as children, whereas those who might be fundraising for him did have that emotional connection to him and feel, keener to assist as a mark of gratitude for, the happiness or memories he gave them. Perhaps we would feel differently if it was a player that we regarded as heroes, growing up. But I also think it's valid to hope that others who don't have a brand to leverage like that also receive benefits and assistance, and may also be looking at that going, I wish I could do that. And I think the broader theme is just the stark difference in the money available to cricketers back then than there is now. And I can understand why people might look at that and go, people who have performed so well with such distinction and built the game to what it is are just, have disproportionately little compared to players of today, and perhaps it should be more even. But they're questions of broader economics, So I noted Jeff Lawson wrote in the papers this week, not castigating Greg Chappell in any way, in fact backing him up and talking about his own experiences of performing to a really high level, but being unable to be ticked off for a mortgage, because of the fragility of his job. That's me paraphrasing. So I can understand why it's an awkward conversation for people, perhaps awkward for Greg Chappell as well, but also that other query in there of I hope. I hope other, but they mentioned there's 10 to 15 others and everyone knows their names. I would probably multiply that by 100, by 10, for people of that era, maybe more, who also played full-time Sheffield Shield and all that kind of stuff.
Totally,
and they can't command it because they didn't average 50.
Just to add to the point, I don't know Greg Chappell. He's obviously been on the show, and I don't know his story. I don't know the depths of this.
And that probably matters as well.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure, there could be other things going on that I don't know about. And you know what? Almost definitely that is true. And there's also obviously this thing where players of a different generation would look at the current guys getting paid literally 7 figures for a 6-week window and being like, that's fucking not fair. I was such a good player. I also know that there'll be a whole bunch of young people listening to this podcast being like, mate, I don't give a fuck about what your expenses were in 1970 compared to what they are now for me in my life, So, look, I mean, fundamentally, I don't know the backstory of this. He's kept the he doesn't want to talk about what the business setback was a few years ago. He doesn't want to detail that. Look, fundamentally, it doesn't affect me. Doesn't affect anyone listening to this. It's his decisions, his story. My initial feeling with it was, which again doesn't matter, was crow's feet.
I think maybe even it's funny. It gets into all these other themes, doesn't it? If I learned privately that he had a benefit, that raised X amount of money by people who wanted to raise it, that's all good. I think it's the PR on top of it, then the GoFundMe, then asking, going cap in hand to everybody else. Is a bit I think there's other, lots of people need money as well, but then you're just making a judgment on circumstances you don't know about.
Exactly.
I mean, back in the old days, we've come a long way, since the, stories you used to hear about, volunteers at the club, at the end of the day, who might have struggled, being subject to what they used to call the old whip rounds, in the club. Hey, Nugsy hasn't had one for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone chuck $20 in the cap. Let's do a whip round so he gets a fuck. No.
That's just what it was. That's just how it was.
You've come a long way.
That's just how it was back then.
That is an information exchange. That's just how That's not a glorification.
That's just how it was.
That's just how it was. Let's do it. Let's do a whip round.
Yeah, it's a whip round.
It's just a whip round. Hey, boy, a couple of beers after the day's... Now, this isn't
happening... Any notes? Got any sheets? Any sheets, boys?
Did that happen at your era? These are things you hear. It didn't happen for me. Did it happen? You said in your club.
Yeah,
so
100%.
I know a couple of people who probably would have been subject to that in your club, but
people were paying for me.
You've had maybe 3 or 4 beers, and remember they're cricket beers. So you're just what that means is deeply dehydrated. Go straight to the bloodstream.
37 degrees. You've taken 2 wickets all day. 400 on the board, etc.
That's right. And you're starting to feel merry. It's hey, you reckon? You reckon? How long's it been for Sparky? How long's it? What about how? Okay, maybe not, I actually know someone called Sparky.
So do I.
Okay. So I'll just make it up a name. What about Marcus? How long's it been for Marcus? You're out now. Now you're out. Okay. How long's it been? You know. Give me a name that isn't someone who's played great cricket.
I can't think of any names now. I think of any names. He goes.
Yeah, that's right. How long's it been? Let's do a whip round. Whip round and get him one.
Let's get him one. New South Wales have not won a game for 15 matches in a row after being defeated. After being defeated by 205 runs. Fucking hell, man. New South Wales have not won a game for 15 matches in a row.
Sponsorships at hello@gradecricketer.com, by the way.
After being defeated by Victoria by 205 runs. That is a team that had lost their last 2 games by an innings. Victoria, that is. New South Wales were bowled out for 102 and 173 at the MCG. Hey, good news, though. Nathan Lyons returned back for this game. He also bowled for NDs against Bankstown a couple of weeks ago. I saw on the internet. So there's that. Mate.
I went out there.
New South Wales have not won a game, a Shield game, for 15 games in a row. What the fuck is going on? Who's to blame? Who must go?
And it must be one thing.
Yes.
David Milan.
David Milan. He's got to go. Get rid.
Yeah.
Put your foot through it. Away.
Yeah. It's
You saw it. You went to the MCG. You saw it.
I took my
You had a
boys
look at
there.
it?
I just
Chaos.
Well, my wife often works a night shift, so she's sleeping during the day, and getting through the day with a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old is I can only imagine it's like a day of Test cricket. Like you've got to actually go session by session and just fill the time with things.
Do you have a whiteboard at home where you break into 3 sessions?
Yeah.
Who won that one?
Yeah, I think I might get half a tick for the first session, and then I'm just roundly defeated. Truly. No, we brought the boys in here to watch Paw Patrol while we recorded, and then I was like,
we did a review for Paw Patrol. It was daily, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, okay, what's it now? So we're here in, I don't think it matters. We're in South Melbourne, and I've taken my eldest, who's 5, I've taken him to Marvel Stadium to see a Swans Kangas game, which he loved a couple of years ago.
Yep.
But I've never taken him to the MCG. I live out on the west side, so it's further, blah blah blah.
Yep.
Anyway, and but I thought, I'll get them to the MCG. It'll be heaps of space, It was really a lot of space.
A lot of space.
I took them out there, and as it is with kids, it's not a magical day for them. They want a pie, they want chips, maybe a drink. Didn't get them a drink. They got no interest in the players that are playing.
Yep.
Nathan Lyon, was kind enough to wave and say hello.
Nice.
Hey boys, that was Nathan Lyon. Zero.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, exactly. And then they just want to go home, much like New South Wales. So what's wrong with New South Wales? I don't even know where to start. It's pretty fucked up. When there's 6 teams in Sheffield Shield, you think you're over the course of 15 games, you're going to get a share of victory on the basis of probability alone. Something's broken in their system. I think it's probably worthy of a more thorough investigation and talking to people about it. I don't think it serves Australian cricket well, much as it's funny for every other state, who's been dominated by New South Wales for a long period of time. I feel like there's lots of factors that are pointing to the breakdown of the Australian cricket pyramid more generally.
Because for 30 years, half the Australian team has been from New South Wales. But for 30 years, probably more, New South Wales have always been good as well.
Yeah.
They've been able to produce more players. It's
got
the
nothing to do.
Yeah.
That argument that it's half the national team,
doesn't that up.
It doesn't wash.
No.
They're all over 30 anyway. These are guys developed a long time ago.
Yeah.
They're not bringing anybody through.
No.
Something's broken. Mm-hmm. Any danger of another state carrying the can for a little bit, okay?
Yeah.
That's a broken. You know what I mean? Here's your go, guys.
Yeah.
But seriously.
Well, the boys in the West are doing okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see.
Tasmania pulled off their highest successful run chase in their history, chasing Queensland's 432. That was the 6th highest successful chase of all time. Queensland made 379 in the first innings. Tassie won 50 all out. Then Queensland declared on 202 for 6th. Tasmania then needed 432 to win. They chased it 7 down.
Good shit.
Bradley Hope and Jared Freeman putting on 75 for the 8th wicket to win it. I think it was about 10 balls left in the final day.
Yeah.
People might have also seen that it was announced that Michael Nisa, who was playing this game, left the game halfway through. No further information about why that happened. But obviously,
I think it's pregnancy.
I wasn't aware of that. My apologies.
Yeah.
My apologies. So hopefully everything's okay with the Nisa family, generally speaking. Matt Wade was man of the match or player of the match in that game. He scored 105 in the run chase, batting at 5. So good news for Wadey.
Slug 70 odd as well.
Yeah. So, how are you, Slug?
Yeah, always chipping in there.
Not even going to say his full name.
Slugly.
Slug.
Yeah. Slug.
How are you, Slug?
Oh, what I wouldn't give.
Oh, fucking hell.
What I wouldn't give for some buckets and to be called Slug.
My kingdom for a day.
My kingdom to be called buckets and Slug for a day.
Cameron Bancroft scored 57 and 100 in their 200-run win against South Australia. Cameron Bancroft doing good things in his quest to be the batter to replace David Warner whenever that happens in the test setup. Joel Paris took 11 wickets in that game. Aaron Hardy, who was out, I mentioned earlier, who was left out of the Australian side, he made 99 in the third innings. Just looked up his stats, Aaron Hardy, because Ponting's got massive raps on him. Ponting suggested he could be a bolter for the Ashes, just gone. Hardy averages 44 with the bat and 28 with the ball in first class cricket. I mean, that's up there with the best in the country and the best in the country for a long period of time.
Oh yeah, it means easily the best in the country.
So
that's the highest.
44 with the bat, that'd be the highest.
It's the highest
first class average. Yeah, Yep.
There's like 3 blokes who average over 40 in state cricket.
It's really depressing. But Aaron Hardy, 44, that's and 28 with the ball, pretty tidy. So 3 games in, Tassie is top with WA, New South Wales in the bottom, and then South Australia and Victoria in between them. So that's what's going on with the Sheffield Shield, unless there's something else.
Yeah, Khawaja missing 2 games.
Having a rest.
Yeah.
He's resting.
And, if that's what he wants to do, then that's probably indicative of attitudes towards it. I think he's a captain. He's missed 2 out of 3 games. He's resting, doing some work with Fox Cricket. That's all good. I just feel like, like Shield cricket to national players may now be what grade cricket is to state players, like a status symbol to miss it. I
don't need to play this.
Oh, Cameron Bancroft's churning out hundreds, and another guy who plays one format is like, I just need a break from it. It just undermines it a little bit. He's a captain. I feel like Australia's cricket system, like its pyramid, used to be like a beautifully refined thing where everything neatly laddered to the apex of the game, which is a national men's test team. Yep. I just think, Australia doesn't have its hand isn't controlling the till of cricket anymore. India's the CEO of cricket. And I think the vision for it is club over country. And I feel like Australia's pyramid is out of date, frayed, not fit for purpose. I think that contributes to New South Wales's
agreed.
Performances in the game. Shield cricket is relegated to the margins of the season. What does 100 mean? It means less if some of the test players who are available aren't even playing. Unfortunately, it just feels like we're running a system that made sense 20 years ago and it doesn't now, and it's I feel like there might be some more conversation about that as our summer rolls around.
Well, I was going to say that. Yeah, I agree, because I'd be really interested to see what the conversation around cricket happens. Sorry, what the conversation is around cricket this summer for guys actually playing cricket, because obviously Pez and I stopped playing a couple of years ago, but I feel like you and I have been banging on about this for a good 2 or 3 years about how the system does not reflect what the pinnacle of the game is anymore. And I feel like the feedback from a lot of people who play cricket is, I think you're wrong. I think it's pretty good, and you need to cool your jets about people's appreciation of T20 cricket or guys not playing 2-day cricket in grade cricket, because that's still what needs to be done to elevate players into the Shield system. I could not disagree with that sentiment more. But people who are playing cricket, they are the ones actually on the ground going in their cars on Saturday morning, driving across the country. So, but I'll be interested to see what happens this summer when they face Pakistan and the West Indies, which is quite frankly going to be an embarrassment. Pakistan, much less so. They've got a very good bowling attack, though. Unfortunately, Naseem Shah is not going to be fit for that. But that's a real shame. But
they had a good bowling attack last time too and got pumped.
Yes, and they haven't won a game here since whenever. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens, because the Big Bash just needs to be the thing. But now Shield cricket's played in September and October. The test matches go on in between that, but then guys who then come out of form, they've been playing Big Bash, but then the test players don't play Big Bash. So
it's all over the place. Everybody
all
knows
over the place.
Everything's all over the place. It connects to the one-day side. It connects to the format. It's all connected. It's up to Cricket Australia to define what the strategy is going forward. It feels like, in the past, they're operating in a different, more complex landscape than they used to. I mean, in the past, pack around the game, everybody bowed down to us, and we, like the whole thing laddered up to our summers. So it was much easier to put a structure around that. And now our hands aren't on the till. India's the CEO of the game. Their vision for the game is different to what our system is. Cricket Australia probably needs to lead a redefinition of what our structure looks like because formats, competitions, players, their drivers, they're all over the place. And it's as the game is in flux at the moment between domestic franchise club cricket and international cricket across 3 formats. It's like, how is... I don't envy grade cricket trying to support that. What's the point of a 2-dayer anymore to level up, to ladder up to a red ball, test team that where only 3 teams play it, where you have summers that are going to be uncompetitive. Some bold leadership is needed, I think, so that, we're not in this situation where the national team is picked from 20 guys, it seems, there's the haves and have-nots.
Yeah.
There might be a big cliff coming for Australian cricket. There's scattered thoughts here as well with all these players that are in there that are going to go soon. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, well done, Slug. And well done, Bangers.
Do you want to talk about the WBBL?
Yeah.
Who's good? Who's hot? Who's not?
14-game season. Teams are 3, 4, 5 games in, so it's still pretty early. Brisbane Heat are good. Adelaide Strikers are good. Phoebe Litchfield is the youngest person to 1,000 runs. Hit 68 or 42 last night against the Hurricanes. I saw her a couple of weeks ago. Absolute class. Sydney Sixers have been dog shit. They've got a star-studded team, but Elisa Healy got a hand bitten off by a dog, so now they're no good.
Yep.
And we had Kim Garth and Tess Flintoff in the studio last week, only a couple of hours before their vengeance game against the Strikers, who had previously bowled them out for 29. I think Kim G wanted to enact some vengeance. Yeah, they lost again, the Stars. That's just cricket. They lost again. They've won 2 from 5. And we've had a couple of issues with stumpings and inconsistent uses of technology, which I think undermines the competition a little bit as well.
Yeah.
But we're just past the start of the season. Looks like the Heat and the Strikers are pretty good. Sydney Thunder are good. They've only played a couple of games. So yeah.
And we also saw Amanda J. Wellington enact an unusual run out where she picked up the stump, having
always fun to see that
the bails having previously been removed.
Novel.
Yeah. And then, I suppose we feel things about that because it's like, oh, she picked it up. That's clever.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that insulting? Oh, look what she did. Like, yeah, that's what you do.
That's what you do.
And that's what she did.
The rules are.
Yeah.
Laws, sorry.
Laws of it, yeah.
Damn it.
Indeed. Dennis Law.
John Laws. Hashtag AskTGC is brought to you by Ponting Wines. You can use the code GETAFEW at pontingwines.com.au. For 20% off. That's 20% off using the code GETAFEW at pontingwines.com. Now, I'm on the Ponting Wines website. Am I? Where am I? Here we go. Okay. Our wines.
Big old trip in the rocket ship now.
The collection. Let's talk about the collection. What do you want to talk about today, Pezza? Do you want to talk about... okay, options. Sauv Blanc, Pinot Gris. There's 2 Chardonnays on offer. A Rosé. There's 2 Pinots. A Shiraz. A Cab Sauv.
Look, I'm red inclined, but I can't say that every week. Why don't we go for the white grape? Why don't we go for a Pinot Gris?
A Pinot Gris, that's the captain's call. That's the captain's call.
And he just rejoined the commentary team as well.
This is a very limited release wine crafted from fruit sourced from a pristine single vineyard site in the Cole River Valley. Lifted aromas of fresh pears and stone fruits backed by subtle hints of spice. Superbly silky.
Jordan
Silk and fresh on the palate.
It's a collab with Jordan Silkley.
This Pinot Gris has great length with a refreshing clean finish.
That's nice.
Ricky finished his international cricket career with the most victories as an Australian captain. Ricky was the Australian cricket captain in 2004, 2011, and his successes included 48 victories and 77 tests. He was also part of 3 successful World Cup campaigns, 2 as captain, which also included a 34-match winning streak. Get out of here. Get out of here. 34 matches in a row.
Speaking of captain's calls, I reckon if he had one regret, it might have been to make a captain's call on his vice-captain, Michael Clark.
No, I'm here to talk about bitters. We're not talking about bitters here. We're talking about Ponting Wines. Yeah. Some would say the bowling first after McGrath stepped on the ball that rolled his ankle. Some might say that.
Right.
In hindsight,
just what the Ponting ones people want. What about mistakes he made as captain? It's a good drop though.
Yeah.
It's a good drop.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, I can't remember Ponting ever dropping a key catch.
Fuck, can I remember dropping a catch?
I know he dropped. I know
he must have dropped a catch.
He fucking took plenty.
I used to work with a guy who said he never dropped a catch.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Can't remember ever dropping a catch.
Can't remember ever dropping a catch.
Without irony.
I mean, what hope have you got there?
What does that mean? What does that say? You know, look, now we're on the topic of
litigation.
Ponting and drop catches.
Yep.
I never got used to him fielding in the cordon. There, unpopular opinion.
Well, there goes the sponsorship. Thanks very much to Ponting Wines. This is the last chance we'll ever get to use the code GETAFEW for 20% off. What do you mean? You didn't like him at 3?
I didn't say I didn't like him. I
never got
used to it.
You wanted a backup point.
I suppose as a child of Taylor at 1, Mark Waugh at 2. Mm-hmm. Take your pick, 3 and beyond. Steve Waugh in the gully.
Where was Warren in those?
3, I'd say. Yeah.
Was he?
3. Now, just for me, like Ponting, who is the best fielder I think I've seen for Australia, like out and out, all things put together.
I've got him just ahead of Simons.
Yeah, so Simons is like more a power fielder and just had no cordon experience. So I just can't have him in there. Mate, I just can't. I'm
tried.
SEN talking about AFL trades.
I tried to have him in there, but
I cannot have him in there. But I guess I would expect somebody of his caliber, aka the greatest, once going into the cordon, to meet then exceed those who came before him, and I don't think he did. Get 20% off his wine. It's like sacrilegious, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Okay, who's he better than in the slips? Taylor, Mark Waugh.
He was better than Mark Taylor. And Mark Taylor, I think, had the record for the most catches. I'll tell you what, in your entire life, has anything made you feel more safe than seeing Steve Waugh with service station sunglasses underneath a baggy green, standing at gully? Nothing in my lifetime has ever touched that.
Yep.
In terms of making me feel safe.
I was at my sister's netball game once when she was in under 10s for the Meriden school. Right. Would have been 5 then. She's 5 years older than me. And I went with my father. I believed I was backing into his leg to cuddle him. I still remember this, but it turns out the leg was of another man.
Yep.
And so when I looked up and saw a foreign face, but I mean foreign as in not my father, the contrasting feeling from that moment to then seeing my father was safety. So I'm just comparing it to Steve Waugh in Servo
that
Sunnies.
Man's name
well,
was
that
Steve
man's
Waugh.
name was R.M. Williams.
What was MJ Bale doing in a netball game for the under 10s?
Just so you asked about safety.
Use the code GETAFEW for 20% off of your order at pontingwines.com.au. #AskTGC. Do you want to read it?
Yeah, okay.
It's from Anon.
All right. Anon says, boys!
Fucking hell.
Is that two? Was it two?
No,
I've written to you a few times regarding my son and his cricket journey. Well, unfortunately, the time has arrived for him. He now has the opportunity to play organised junior cricket. Junior with a capital J too. I think the reason I'm most disappointed in his choice to pursue this fucking useless venture is he was invited to trial for a rep basketball team. After weeks of training sessions each Sunday at 9 a.m. and 2 trial sessions, he was offered a position on the under-12s team at the age of 8. I was stoked for him. He actually has amazing natural talent with basketball, and I thought the coaching from actual coaches, not just some kid's unathletic mum or dad, would actually be amazing for his development in a respected sport. However, both under-11s cricket and rep basketball are both on a Friday afternoon, and he had a decision to make. I don't know why, but I offered him the choice. I told him the predicament we were in and gave him the chance to choose. And he fucking chose cricket.
Oh, God damn it.
We decided he would play for the club I played for, and he was extremely excited to head down to the first training session. I also had a swagger in the step, I thought, a returning 6-time club champion. Coming back to the club he has been away from for 5 years would be greeted with fanfare, handshakes, pats on the back, and masculine energy. However, it was met with underwhelming introductions to people I didn't know and a relegation to just stand there with the kids as they are bowling and make sure there is some organisation. What I also came to learn in this first session of training is, as a cricketer, my son makes a very good basketballer. I cannot fathom how he was enjoying himself bowling the ball into the side net, or when batting, running between the wickets like the Tin Man after missing the ball for the 10th time straight, and the coach making him run so the other kid who could actually hit it could get on strike. As I stood there watching Jimmy run in and legitimately throw the ball repeatedly and take wickets and celebrate, and not one person correct his fucking action, I drifted away. I dreamt of my son at the age of 35 attending every training session, wasting his life away in 4th grade, divorced, 2 kids, beer gut, struggling to hold down his concreting job with hands calloused and covered in cement, standing at the end of his run-up waiting his turn to bowl as he gives some 12-year-old wonderkind advice about keeping his front elbow high. The sound of cricket ball hitting black rubber played over and over in my head as I saw him picking his jocks out of his arse crack and then smelling his finger. I had visions of him umpiring and never giving his teammates out, sitting around waiting to bat and telling his teammates about the hooker he fucked the night before. Here's the whip round kid. What am I doing? Why did I give him the choice? Why am I driving to games and training? Should I be considered as some kind of enabler? Help! Yeah.
Really, really interesting question because...
Yeah. Okay, just to be clear.
Yeah.
He's talking about himself in the final paragraph there, right?
Right.
He's saying that's what he did.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
This
also could be a Sixth Sense kind of thing where Bruce Willis is actually a ghost.
Yeah.
And so he's watching himself. He doesn't have a son.
Yeah.
Or it could be like, Fight Club where,
yes.
Brad Pitt doesn't exist. He's just a figment of the imagination.
Totally. There's fraud and yawning and stuff.
But, if he did have a child and it's...
I think I said fraud, I meant Freud.
It's fraud.
That's what they called him, Fraudiola. Psychology.
Fraudiola.
Sigmund Fraudiola.
It's a tricky one because if he's any good at basketball, he really needs to be like very, very good. Like he needs to at least make NBL standards. That's a National Basketball League in Australia. Otherwise, he's just going to become he's going to be good at this niche sport that no one cares about. Whereas if he's like a fourth grader, if he makes it that high, then it's but at least that's in the national sport,
He's 8 years old, being invited to the under 12s basketball team.
Yeah.
But then this is the thing where it doesn't quite he's now in the under 11s rep cricket and rep basketball. Okay, so it's just under 11s cricket. It's not rep cricket, under 11s. Why is he playing under 11s age 8? Is that the first year? Put him in his actual age. The kid throws the ball. Why is he going under 11s? And so let's get into the psychology of why the kid has very specifically gone against his father's wishes to play cricket at his father's club, even though he can't even play. I reckon the kid is intoning an opportunity to essentially dominate his father.
Well, I think the father might have actually pushed him into this because he thought he was going to return to the club, making himself look like the hometown hero, coming back to the grassroots, his upbringing, where he's thinking my name's going to be plastered all across the wall. Look at these honours boards. Yeah. Look at this second grade premiership where I'm wearing a business shirt. The time we won the flag that year in 1973.
Yeah, his son's Robert Wardlow. His son's Robert Wardlow.
He's
literally Victor Wembanyama. and he's like, I know he should play basketball. Yeah. And he's like, but there is the chance of sort of walking back into the club. I did win the flag 6 times at this fucking Astro wheelie bin shit. He's like, what do you think? What do you think, champ?
Yeah. That's what's really going on here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for anon. Get your #AskTGC into our email. That's the best way to do it. hello@greycricketer.com, or you can just go to the website and submit your form there if that is your preference. There's also Wasted Saturdays. You can DM us your clips, your rubbish clips of you playing dog shit cricket across the country so harsh. So unnecessarily harsh. And of course, thanks as always for supporting TGC on our Patreon show for everything we are doing over there. We'll be back all through the week. So much coming up. Thank you very much to Adam Gilchrist for joining us. And we'll see you guys on the internet real soon.